Well, I've been away for 3 weeks and the 4.5 special program livestream has happened, revealing the banners for both halves. With the first half, we have Chiori and Arataki Itto, and the second half being Nuvilet and Kazuha. So I'll just do a quick video on the first half, mostly on Chiori and Itto, on whether should you pull, since as the time of this recording, 4.5 should be coming up in a few days. So let us start off with Chiori. So Chiori is the hyped up 5-star Geo Sword character from Inazuma, where her main damage source seems to be from her elemental skill, and it seems like people are saying her and calling her names like basically a better Albedo or basically a power creep for Albedo. Now let us go over her kit to see whether this is true. So Chiori's elemental skill is quite similar to Keqing and Alhaitham's skill, where you can double tap it and you will dash forward, and you can also hold to aim and do like a simple plunging attack, similar to Keqing or Alhaitham. And after doing so, it will summon a doll that periodically does damage to any enemies within a certain range. And the damage of the doll scales off Chiori's attack and defense stat with a higher scaling on defense itself. If there is a Geo construct present within a short range, she will spawn an additional doll, which I assume will probably do another instance of damage, thus making her better than Albedo in that sense. Chiori's elemental burst seems to be an AoE Geo damage, which apparently also scales off both attack and defense. Very likely she has a higher scaling to defense, and yeah, it just does damage, so nothing to see here. One of her Ascension makes it so that if she were to tap his skill after using the regular skill, she switches to the next character in the roster, which does an extra coordinated attack. If she were to press normal attack after using a skill, Chiori will gain a Geo infusion for a short period of time. Her exploration passive makes it so that if any party member is using a non-default outfit or glider, they will gain a 10% movement speed buff. However, this only applies to the overworld, so you cannot take advantage of this in the likes of the Spiral Abyss domains or any Trounce domains against any bosses. So what do I think about Chiori? She is very much a better Albedo in all sense, because her skill I don't think is actually considered a Geo construct. I do like the idea that she can do more damage with her skill if there are any Geo constructs nearby, though I think it's a bit problematic because it's not going to fix any inherent issues that constructs have, such as, obstruction with Zhongli Pillar. For those who have accidentally climbed Zhongli Pillars, I can't count the number of times that I've accidentally climbed up while running a Hu Tao team. Also, Geo constructs are easily destroyed since we can't actually see their health bars, and sometimes if you're going against bosses, they may get eaten by their hitboxes. So I think Chiori's design appearance-wise is great, but I don't think her kit is anything new, a new sight to behold. It's pretty normal, there's nothing new to the game, and I have a personal bias where I personally favor cool new kits or ideas in the game because I find it fun and interesting. It's like something to see that we've never really seen before, and I think that's really great. So the one upside for being Albedo 2.0 is that she, as a sword character, has access to his best in slot weapon, being the Cinnabar Spindle, if you actually have the weapon. And worst case scenario, if you don't have, something like the Festering Desire, which is also a very long time limited event weapon, you could run the Harbinger of Dawn, which is actually a very accessible gacha 3-star weapon. So I would assume that Chiori would have decent F2P options for her weapons. And I guess her biggest downside, sadly, would be that if you pull her, right, you would have to farm Spectres. So honestly, good luck to any future Chiori farmers out there. In terms of her role consolidation is really just a better Albedo. Whatever team that you want to run Albedo in, you can probably run Chiori inside. And knowing Hoyo, I'm sure her Constellation 1 and Constellation 2 is probably going to be a must pull or a quality of life thing, depending on what it actually does, because this has been the pattern with the recent 5-star characters. Now that's enough about Chiori, let us move on to the Numero 1 Arataki Itto. For Arataki Itto, pretty free now, if you were to ask me, I would say Itto would be the 5-star version of Noelle, which is better. But now that Furina has been out nowadays, I would say Noelle is definitely better in that case. So Arataki Itto is an on-field Geo DPS, where most of his damage comes from his custom special charge attack. With his normal attack combo, he has a 4-hit combo, and upon hitting the 2nd and 4th combo, he gains the superlative strength stacks, which I will abbreviate to the SS stacks, and he can gain up to 5. So the normal attack combo doesn't reset after sprinting or using a skill, and this is only a trait special for Itto himself. When you use his charge attack, it will consume the SS stacks to perform a special charge attack called the Arataki Kesagiri, and the amount of stacks that you possess is indicated by the Oni logo behind him. So Itto's elemental skills allows him to shoot a cow named Ushi, doing big damage and generate a good amount of energy. You can hold the skill button in order to aim, and Ushi is considered a geo construct, so it can actually resonate with Zhongli's pillar. With his elemental burst, Itto converts a portion of his defense into additional attack, of which he gains a geo infusion for a period of time. He also gains an increase on his normal attack speed, and his first and third combo of his normal attack will also give him additional stacks. It also decreases all of Itto's resistance by 30%, which makes him a bit more of a glass cannon. However, it should be fine since you're going to be running a mono geo team anyways, and you're probably going to be running some defense buffer like Gorou. So Itto's Ascension 1 makes it so that when he consumes his stack to perform the special charge attack, he will gain a 10% attack speed buff for the next charge attack slash, which is a maximum of 30%. It also increases his resistance to interruption. Itto's Ascension 4 makes it so that his special charge attack will gain additional damage bonus that is based off 35% of Itto's current defense. For his exploration passive, every time you cut a tree, you have a 25% chance of getting additional wood. Now let us go over his constellations. So for C1, he gains 2 stacks on using his burst, and he gains 1 SS stack for every 0.5 seconds for 1.5 seconds. This allows you to have more uptime on his special charge attack, which is a minor DPS increase, but nevertheless it is quite decent and it feels less jank in doing so. So for Constellation 2, after using his burst, for every Geo party member in the team, it will decrease Itto's skill cooldown by 1.5 seconds and restore a flat 6 energy to Itto. This ability can trigger every 4.5 seconds. This constellation is mostly a quality of life constellations, which does help reduce Itto's ER requirements, and that allows you to build more towards offensive stats. His Constellation 3 adds 3 levels to his skill, which means your Ushi does more damage. His Constellation 4 adds 20% defense and attack after Itto's burst ends. This is an especially great buff for the second rotation onwards, and it is particularly helpful if the team has any off-field DPS such as Albedo or Chiori. His Constellation 5 adds 3 levels to his burst, which means he converts more of his defense into attack, so it's an overall decent damage increase. Now his bread and butter, his game-breaking one, kind of, Constellation 6 will add 70% crit damage to his charge attack, and every time he uses his charge attack, it has a 50% chance to not consume any stack, which leads him to the possibility of doing an infinite charge attack until the enemy dies. Obviously, this is his best in slot constellation. It makes him so that he's less reliant on building the SS stacks with his normal attack, though according to Kuching mains, it is quite hard to quantify the DPS increase since it is completely RNG with the second part of the passive. But regardless, a 70% crit damage buff to his charge attack is quite a massive boost, so regardless, this is quite a good constellation. So what do I think about Itto? Unfortunately, I do not have him, and I do not intend to pull him since I'm aiming for Nouvellette on the second half. So all my thoughts that I'm about to give right now are completely secondhand information based on the things that I've seen on the internet. I think Itto is an alright DPS. He's not exactly phenomenal or game breaking, but he's not particularly bad too. I think that his charge attack mechanic can feel a little bit jank if you're not used to the optimal combos or doing the right combos to build his SS stacks with his normal attack. However, his charge attack does have a pretty good range, and you can hit certain flying enemies like Spectres and potentially the flying Ruin Drakes. And unlike Noelle, his skill can actually generate energy, which to me is a big plus as a Noelle main since it does help in reducing his ER requirements and you don't have to rely on your teammates as much to get your burst back. So if you're not going for C6, I think Constellation 1 is generally a good stopping point since it makes it much easier for you to use his charge attack and the uptime is much more consistent. I would say the downside of actually getting Itto is that you do want to get C6 Gorou if you want to push for a higher damage ceiling. Since gunning for 4-star constellations is generally quite hard, and if I remember correctly, you need about 300 pulls in order to guarantee a C6 of a 4-star character, which is equivalent to getting 2 5-star characters, and that is quite a lot. You can actually run Itto with a non-C6 Gorou, but do keep in mind that the damage ceiling will be much lower. And running Gorou in an Itto team requires 3 Geo members at minimum in order to maximize Gorou's skill buff. Preferably, it's recommended that you run an off-fielder such as a shielder like Zhongli with his pillar, Albedo as an off-field DPS, and even Chiori, because you can't really run characters like Ningguang or Navia. It's not ideal because that means you have to swap off Itto for them to do damage. While the Mono Geo team does lack grouping, it will be less of an issue since his charge attack does auto-aim the nearest enemy and it does have a big range, and upon performing the charge attack, his movement speed is quite decent, so it will actually push you forward towards the enemy. So to sum things up for both units, I think they're both interesting. It's funny because one is an on-field DPS carry, while the other one is simply just a better albedo. If you have both or you're pulling for one and you're intending to get both, you can definitely run them together in a mono geo team. I think Chiori is going to be interesting being a better albedo. I don't think she's going to be particularly game-breaking, but I think she's just going to be a solid 7 out of 10, while Itto has always been the same as he always has, because, you know, Gorou and Itto being Numero Uno, just doing the same thing as he always does. Anyways, if you enjoyed the video and you found it helpful, give it a like and subscribe for more content. Leave a comment down below for who you are pulling for version 4.5, or let us know why you are skipping this patch. Otherwise, I wish you guys the best of luck in your future summons, and I will see you guys in the next video. This is Ethereal, signing off.